And Michelle, you were involved in the 2008 campaign for the Democratic Party, is that correct?
That's correct.
What role did you play?
Initially, I was just a volunteer for the Hillary Clinton campaign. I had gone to Nevada, and I'd also gone to Pennsylvania. And I was also going to her call center in Los Angeles at least 3 times a week for about 8 months, and I made thousands of calls for her. After what I had witnessed on the campaign and learning through what other people were experiencing, I was absolutely appalled by the voter fraud that was occurring as a result of the Obama campaign. I saw in Nevada when I went the Obama campaign people basically stealing the caucuses. They were throwing away votes. They were intimidating Hillary people from even getting into the place to vote. It was very systematic. They were like tearing up votes. They got basically control over the caucus packets, and they manipulated the vote from there. And I had gone to Pennsylvania, and I met a lot of other volunteers that were telling stories very similar, that were experiencing this all across the states. I couldn't believe the media was not reporting on the obvious fraud that they were witnessing themselves. I mean, like everyone knew the Obama campaign was stealing the election. The head of the DNC was Howard Dean at that time, and Nancy Pelosi, in her leadership role as Speaker of the House, were allowing it to happen, and they were changing the rules as the primary went along. It was very systematic from the leadership of the Democratic Party. They were never going to let Hillary win the nomination, and it did not matter what the people were voting for. In June, the Democratic Party and the media declared Obama the winner of the nomination, when he, in fact, did not have enough delegates to actually win the nomination. And the Hillary people knew that. And in fact, they were only about 14 delegates apart if they were to actually have counted Florida and Michigan fully. And Howard Dean went on the news and he said that they were not going to put her name into nomination and allow the delegates to vote at the convention, and they were going to have Obama get the nomination by unanimous acclamation. That is when I was appalled that that could even happen, and I actually took 3 months off and spent my own money and worked with volunteers all throughout the states to somehow force Hillary's name into nomination. Well, we learned from a lady in Texas who had read the 500-page DNC convention rules document that there was a way to get her name into nomination if we got 300 of her delegates to sign a petition.
Let's take a look at one of the petitions here.
Okay.
You can tell me what's constructed on it. I mean, you'll see, what is the first part about?
Okay, the first part about it is it's basically a petition in support of the floor nomination of Hillary Rodham Clinton for the President of the United States. And so each person, depending on what state they came from, they wrote down their congressional district, they signed it, and on this piece down here, this is something that I had devised with a woman that was a notary. So they had to take this petition, print out 2 of them, sign both of them, take it to a notary. And if you look at all of these petitions, each person had a different stamped notary from wherever they were from.
So you couldn't disqualify it based upon some discrepancy in the signature, is that?
That is correct. And I also made them sign 2 of them, send one to a P.O. box. In case something happened to the P.O. box, I had them bring it individually, the other one, to the convention, so that there was no way the DNC or the Obama campaign, his lawyers, could knock my signatures off this petition.
It sounds like you had enough petitions to force a Hillary's being on the first ballot in the convention, but it sounds like that did not happen. Is that correct?
They were monitoring our petition to see if we were going to get the number 1, the Obama campaign. And they didn't think we were going to be able to achieve it because they were intimidating a lot of the delegates not to sign the petition. Jon Corzine, the governor of New Jersey, had his people contact the entire delegation of New Jersey to not even talk to us, not even sign the petition. Ed Rendell was the governor of Pennsylvania. He was contacting people not to sign the petition. And the people that signed this took a huge risk in signing this. And they know it to this day, that their name is marked if they signed this petition. What I heard from several state party chairs were that the DNC would not give any money to the down-ticket Democrats if the delegation did not deliver 51% of the vote for Obama, regardless of how the state actually voted. It was just all a fraud. The whole thing was a sham. Jon Corzine declared New Jersey unanimous for Obama when Hillary won that state by 10%.
Jon's a leader who's been called to govern in some extraordinary times. Jon Corzine wasn't just the first governor to pass an economic recovery plan for his state. He was an ally with the Obama administration in helping us develop a national recovery plan. Jon Corzine has not only protected funding for New Jersey schools, he reformed them with tougher standards, and now students in New Jersey rank at the top of the country in reading and math because of Jon Corzine.
I mean, literally, one of the early discussions we had in Chicago in preparation for the administration, our transition team out there, we got together, I think it was 30, 35 economists, all left, right, center, and what did we talk about? The first question they wanted to raise with us is whether we might have to call a bank holiday on the day after we were sworn in. Ladies and gentlemen, the president and I weren't back there blaming Jon Corzine then. You know what we were doing? We were on the phone calling Jon Corzine, literally. I literally picked up the phone and called Jon Corzine and said, John, what do you think we should do? The reason why we called John is because we knew he knew about the economy, about world markets, about how we had to respond, unlike almost anyone we knew. And because he had been in the pit, he had been in the furnace, and we trusted his judgment. And everybody kind of forgets this. But what we heard from John is what we needed to do. What we needed to do, we needed a serious economic recovery plan. John had already, no, I'm not doing this for applause. It's all just, as he used to say, ain't brag, man, just facts, just the facts. The facts were, John, leading your legislature, was already moving in New Jersey on an economic stimulus package before anybody else was. But John knew what other governors know, but many didn't acknowledge, that it wasn't sufficient. No state was big enough. As strong and as wealthy and as powerful as your state, no state was big enough to be the economic engine for national growth. So John suggested and laid out, and we talked a long time about what the elements of the recovery package nationally should be. We knew without a national package it wouldn't work, and John was right. You talk about Christie being wrong, I could start a mantra where John was right. John was right about this. So, folks, we acted.
Former New Jersey Governor Jon Corzine is returning to the private sector after nearly a decade in government. He has taken the helm of futures and options brokerage MF Global. That news actually sent shares of MF Global sharply higher in after-hours trading. And right now, he joins us for an exclusive interview this morning. Jon Corzine, who is the new chairman and CEO of MF Global. And Governor, thanks for coming in today.
Great to be here, Becky.
All right,
nice to see you guys.
We knew you had some things, some pokers in the fire, some things that you were going to be putting together. But it's not just MF Global. You'll also be a partner at J.C. Flowers and Company, and you'll be a visiting professor at Princeton. So you've got a lot of
time on my hands.
Yeah, you've got a lot of different things that are going on.
I'm really excited about the opportunity to lead MF Global. I think it has a great strategic position, underutilized, not recognized in the marketplace today. It's entrepreneurial, which plays to what I wanted to do with the balance of work life, and it's got a great set of talent that I think are just underutilized, and we're gonna work very hard to get the earnings back on track and then take advantage of what I think is a very fluid situation in the financial services industry as regulation changes. There's concentration of economic power in a very few number of firms right now, which I think is going to create an opening for others. MF Global is going to be one of those.
Peter Barnes, Fox Business. Sir, could you comment on the failure of MF Global, which is a primary dealer, and specifically the Financial Times is reporting that the leverage ratio at MF Global was 40-1. Were you aware of that? Did the Fed approve of that? Is that an acceptable leverage ratio, particularly since the financial crisis?
Certainly. The New York Federal Reserve Bank approved MF Global to be a primary dealer. I believe it was in February of this year. At that time, the company met the criteria that had been set forth in terms of management, financial condition, capacity, and so on to qualify to be a primary dealer. We have set those standards in a way that would allow smaller firms like MF Global to participate in the primary dealer market. But I would like to emphasize, I guess, a couple of points. First, we are not the regulators of MF Global. That's done by the SEC and the CFTC. So we do not have ongoing insight into developments within the company. And secondly, again, making them a primary dealer did not in any way constitute a seal of approval. In fact, the New York Fed's website contains a statement pretty much to that effect. So they were a primary dealer. We stopped trading with them before they failed, and we've suffered no losses or other consequences from our transactions with the company.
They took my money and thousands of other people's money. Now remember what's going on here. Jon Corzine, the sleazeball senator and former governor of New Jersey, bankrupted the company that he was running. A former Goldman Sachs guy, by the way. It's all connected. The head of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, Gary Gensler, that's supposed to be overseeing this, a former Goldman Sachs guy.
Joining us by phone right now is bank analyst Dick Beauvais of Rockdale Securities. Dick, welcome to In Business. Where were the risk managers on this one?
Well, obviously, this thing is going to create more problems than simply the financial ones. I think that what we're seeing now is going to be renewed, if you will, strength in terms of getting this Volcker rule passed in its most vigorous fashion, because this is exactly what the Volcker rule was put up to stop. In other words, it was put up to stop, I'm going to call him a rogue trader from going out and playing in the market with billions of dollars. It was to stiffen the resolve of the regulators to stop this from happening. And what occurred here was that this guy was able to float underneath the rule. It wasn't a regulated company, and it wasn't considered to be a systemically important financial institution, so the Fed was not looking at it.
There's a new report out that Bill Clinton collected $50,000 per month from MF Global. Well, Newt Gingrich got millions from, Freddie Mac and all of this. This later report from How Dare You, Department of Clinton Criminal Enterprises, and it just goes through all the reported things he's done as an advisor through Jon Corzine, the former New Jersey governor, former head of Goldman Sachs, who admittedly made 40-1 bets with his own customer's private account.